Hi guys, good evening. So finally the exam started. So we had SLAT today. Definitely it will be conducted over the course of 3 days. So, but the first day was today. How many of you gave the exam today? Just type a yes in the chat box. Okay, Dakshita says yes. Ria, Sanya, wonderful, wonderful. So I'm sure you guys are out of tension today, isn't it? So first day you have given the examination probably by choice or probably you didn't get the other slot. Okay, wonderful. So before I start the session, let me make it very clear. I can see through the chats on the YouTube here, people are anxious to know about the questions. So definitely I'm not going to discuss the questions today. So the exams is yet to get over. Tomorrow we have one slot. Day after tomorrow we have another slot. So today basically we'll understand what happened today actually. So we all know SLAT is your gateway to the four symbiosis law schools, Pune, Noida, Hyderabad, and last year started Nagpur. So it's an important examination, no doubt. Few changes this year. We had WAT integrated along with the MCQ paper this year. Otherwise, it used to happen at the campus from wherever you used to get a call actually. So, but this time it was part of the MCQ paper itself. Suppose you had submitted your MCQ paper in 75 minutes, you had to appear for the written ability test. And you had a choice actually, unlike the previous years, if I talk about, where generally they don't give you a choice. So you have one topic given and then you have to write on that. But this time they had given you a choice wherein you had one topic and then you had to write the examination. Obviously, the paper is going to be different from for all the 3 days. Despite their best intentions, they tried earlier as well, but could not do because of technological issues. But finally, the exam started today. In fact, there were a lot of students who could still not manage to give the exam today, actually. So hopefully SLAT will consider their request if they receive the request and definitely will allow them maybe tomorrow or day after tomorrow. I could see there were several technical glitches in the morning when the test started. Quite a number of students could not start the test on time. They were getting blank screens. So for those of you writing tomorrow and day after, please ensure you log in on time and be prepared for that actually. So you'll have a buffer time available to take care of the any technological issues which you have actually. So overall, in a nutshell, I would say this was an easy paper on the expected lines, not very difficult. In fact, SLAT has always been easy actually, and this was again a very easy paper actually. On the expected lines, nothing much different. The surprises were not there actually. So section by section, if I look at, we'll do the analysis section by section. The idea of the session today is to give you a hint as to what you can expect if you're writing the session tomorrow and day after, and what one can expect if one has given today actually. What could have been possibly the good number of attempts, because we have been talking to the students all throughout the day today. So we have gathered some information as to what could be possibly a good attempt in the paper actually. So let's move ahead and understand. So if I were to look at the structure of the paper today, so this was how it looked like. So changed from the actual pattern because the exam was conducted in a home proctored online format. So this was changed actually. So we had just 15 questions in the each of these sections, unlike 30 which used to be there in the paper. And a total of 75 minutes was given to solve the MCQ part, which was very much similar to, if I look at the time provided, it was very much similar to what used to happen earlier. So earlier, one was expected to solve 150 questions within 150 minutes. No negative marking. I think that worked for a lot of you, those who are smart enough, those who do intelligent guesses every time. So for them it really helps, but obviously it's something one should avoid. Random guessing should be definitely avoided, but yes, for the ones who are writing the paper tomorrow and day after, you should make it a point that if you do not have the clue about the answer, do not leave it blank. You can make some intelligent guesses out there and then mark the answer actually. You'll lose nothing. probably it will add to your scores if your guess goes right. So it will definitely add to your score. So there's no risk involved out here. So in fact, with no negative marking, one is expected to attempt the all the questions which almost every student today has done actually, and I'm sure tomorrow and day after everybody will follow the same strategy actually. So once this MCQ part got over, then we had the VAT section for which 30 minutes was allowed. So let us understand section by section what happened actually, what was there in the paper, and definitely not going to discuss the questions, though we got some of them actually, but we'll not be discussing the questions out here. But let us understand and do a bit of dissection for each of these sections to understand what happened today and what can be expected tomorrow and day after actually. And then I'll take up the question. So let's quickly summarize the entire paper for today actually. So reading comprehension. So unlike other exams like ALET or MHCET, SLAT has always been about reading comprehension. So till 2019, we would expect some 5 to 6 passages. But given the constraint with which the paper happened today, there were 3 sections, 3 passages in this particular section. Best part was the passages were short and sweet. That was the feedback I got from the students. Passages were really short and sweet. And if I look at the passages, there was one on the Great Depression. There was another on discrimination related to Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar. And the third passage was about Khap Panchayats actually. So not very difficult topics. Most of you are familiar with all this as part of your GK. You have learned a lot about all this actually. So you are familiar. So, but nevertheless, it was a reading comprehension passage. There were direct questions. That was the feedback of the students. So it was more or less on the expected lines itself. The passages were not lengthy, something which we were definitely expecting. Even otherwise, if I look at the papers of 2019, 2018, the passages were never been lengthy actually. So for days, I definitely expect that the passages will remain easy, short, easy, and there will be direct questions as well. Yes, as expected, some questions on vocabulary, but contextual. No doubt that about that contextual. So it was a very easy section actually to talk about. I would say attempt of 12 to 13 will definitely be considered a good attempt. Possible to do that actually. And obviously, as I said, because there's no negative marking, one would have definitely attempted all the questions by doing some wild guesses, intelligent guessing actually. So overall, English should have, the reading comprehension section should have boosted the confidence for those who start with this particular section. That would have definitely boosted the confidence of the students. Easy on expected lines. 12 to 13 is what I expect most of the students would have definitely attempted, and that's the feedback we have got for this particular section. Next comes legal reasoning. So we all know that though SLAT calls it a legal reasoning section, but there are a few questions on legal knowledge as well. So on the expected lines, we had 3 questions on the legal knowledge aspect. Slight confusion over here based on the feedback. So the students gave different version of the paper actually, but still I would say the 3 questions were based on right to privacy, internet, and definitely Arunada Vaseem case, probably interrelated actually. So slight confusion out here, but only 3 questions came from legal knowledge section. Only 3 questions came from legal knowledge section. Quite a number of questions from the reasoning were not having any principles, but that should not worry you because that has been the trend for SLAT actually. So quite a number of questions do not have principle. The best part about legal reasoning out here is it is not lengthy. It is not lengthy. One-liners basically, I would say. So you are given a one-line principle if it is there for the question, and a one-line fact situation. Simple. Just like what if you have seen the CLAT 2019 paper, because SLAT does not release its paper for any of the years. But if you have come across CLAT 2019 paper, and if you have seen that, it's very similar story year after year out here in SLAT. So for those who are writing the paper tomorrow and day after, nothing to worry about. So basically all that you have covered inside the classes, all that you have been taught will be covered. So questions you can expect from all the areas of contract, you can expect from torts, you can expect from criminal law. Basically, what Symbiosis does every year, they try to maintain a balance between each of the areas. Obviously, a good number of questions definitely come from contract, but that's the trend across every examination, isn't it? So contracts, you can expect maximum number of questions actually. Overall, again, very easy section. Most students agree to that. In fact, they have attempted all the questions for this particular section, especially the ones who are good at legal knowledge. They attempted all the 3 questions. So legal reasoning definitely was very easy, very easy. Mostly sitters actually. So the moment you would have read the question, you would have known what could be the possible choice out there actually. But given the time frame and given the mode of the examination, though many people believe that home proctored mock or a test makes it easier, I believe that actually is slightly difficult. You are on your toes all the time actually. So 12 to 13 is definitely a good attempt in this particular section as well. So overall, both reading comprehension and legal reasoning section were quite easy actually. So nothing to worry about, and I expect same would be there over the next 2 days. The reason is very simple, because they'll be coming out with the cutoff taking into consideration all the 3 papers across the 3 days actually. So they would not make the normalization process quite complicated. So they would keep the level of difficulty same all across. They'll keep the level of difficulty. So I'm sure this gives a lot of encouragement to the students. Don't expect any variations from what happened today. The paper tomorrow and day after should be very much similar to what happened today actually. So no deviations out there I'm expecting out there. I can see a lot of chat. People were cheating actually. See, those who are adapted to it, they will definitely try for it actually. But I'm sure, given the nature of the paper, if you indulge into cheating, because questions you could have definitely not predicted. So if you indulge into cheating, you would have definitely wasted a lot of time actually for yourself. Okay, analytical reasoning. Now, I have been telling this every time to every student of mine. I've been telling this across the, remember the session I and Ux did for the strategy of the SLAT paper. We have been telling this all the time. When it comes to reasoning part of the paper, I think there is some bit of confusion when it comes to SLAT examination, isn't it? So in AR, we have questions based on mathematics. In logical reasoning, we have questions based on analytical reasoning actually. But nevertheless, so the trend did not change this year as well. So on the expected lines, we had math questions. In fact, I believe 6 to 7 questions were from the maths based concepts actually. Obviously, when we talk about analytical reasoning, we had series based questions, we had clocks and calendars, we had directions, we had blood relations. So all the topics which you are familiar with, isn't it? And these topics you are largely familiar with. You have done a lot of practice, so there is nothing to worry about. Nothing to worry about actually. Even the questions which were based on arithmetic concepts, the profit loss, time and work, time and speed, they were pretty easy. The age based questions based on the averages, concept of averages, they were all pretty easy, isn't it? So one could have easily done the this section within 15 minutes time frame. If you allocated 15 minutes for this particular section as well, I'm sure that was a good enough time to solve this particular section. So similar to the previous 2 section, in fact here also majority of the students have attempted 12 to 13 question, and that can be considered a good attempt, no doubt about that actually. And analytical reasoning, for those who are attempting the paper tomorrow and day after, expect maths based questions to be there. It has always been there. When it comes to SLAT paper, it has always been there. So expect that to be there. So some part of it, in fact every year I have come across this, to an extent of 40 to 45% of this section is always mathematics based actually. And that what happened today actually. That's what happened today. So in fact, for those writing the paper tomorrow and day after, expect on the same lines. You will have definitely questions. So if you want to revisit some formulas based on arithmetic, you can do that. You have some time, but I would suggest don't take too much of pressure. You have given a lot of time to your preparation. You got some extensions as well. I'm sure everybody has done their best to prepare for the examination, and you are ready for it. So keep calm for tomorrow and day after if you are preparing for the paper tomorrow. Logical reasoning, mix of analytical and logical reasoning. This section has always been a mix of analytical and logical reasoning. So this section, in fact, had a lot of questions on series. In fact, they had questions on blood relations as well. Plus, we had questions based on reason, assertions, statement, conclusions, and puzzles as well. So again, this was pretty easy section. Believe me, this was every guy's feedback. Though some of them did struggle a little bit actually in this particular section. They felt that slightly difficult, but overall the response has been again, this has been an easy section. So for definitely those who are prepared, I'm sure when it comes to logical reasoning, lot many people struggle when it comes to critical reasoning. I think that is something which worries them. Analytical is something which most of you definitely are good at, because you practice a lot, you enjoy a lot. So you do a lot of questions based on series and puzzles. You do it for the other examination. But so that part of the logical reasoning section definitely gives you that advantage, no doubt about that. Expect the logical reasoning section to be a mix of analytical and logical both actually. Again, very easy paper, I would say, easy section, this one as well. Here also 12 to 13 attempt was possible, no doubt about that. In fact, last section was definitely the order can be changed. So last section, if we to talk about, is general awareness. Now this is where the students struggled a little bit actually. This is where students struggle a little bit. But then if you understand, GK is something which is definitely unpredictable. So you can expect the paper setter to focus more on current affairs at times, to more on static GK at times actually. SLAT has always been a mix of static and current affairs, no doubt about that. Some of the typical questions, I think, to get you familiar with, to understand what kind of paper you can expect. So there were questions based on sports, related to Conruhampi. There were related to questions based on invention, Padma Shri awards. So books and authors. In fact, that came as a matching format. So there are 4 books and 4 authors given actually, and you have to find the correct match actually. So because a good component was static GK, most of the students definitely struggled a little bit, because the focus has always been on current affairs, considering CLAT and AILT. That's the trend. So here I would consider 9 to 10 would be something to be a good attempt actually. 9 to 10 out here, something can be considered as a good attempt. So possibly if I look at overall the entire paper, somewhere around 60, 62 questions were easily possible. And definitely you would have attempted or one is expected to attempt all the questions. No negative marking out there, but a good attempt would be somewhere around 60, 62. So possibly though this would be not the correct assessment at this point of time, because there are 2 days still left. But I believe given the nature of the paper today, score of anywhere around 55 and above can be considered for the cutoff part actually. But this will also depend how do the next 2 days go actually, and accordingly normalization would be done. If the paper for the next 2 days is easier as compared to today, obviously the cutoffs might be changed for today actually. But anything above 60 can definitely fetch you a call for the next stage, but that will also depend how you have done in the VAT section actually. So what happened in VAT, you were given 30 minutes today actually. There were 2 topics provided. One was about privacy and data protection. The other one about corporate criminal liability with relation to the Vizag gas leak case, which happened a couple of months ago actually, or maybe I believe in the month of May or June. So one had to select one of the topics and write the essay. So you are not required to write on both of it. So you had enough time to jot down your thoughts. You had enough time to assess how you are going to frame the essay or how you are going to frame the paragraphs. So I think VAT again was not very difficult. It was the topics. I'm sure you have already gone through it, because you are preparing for current affairs. You must have read about Vizag gas leak case. You are a law student, law aspirant, so you can definitely relate with the corporate criminal liability aspect. Or even otherwise, if somebody would have taken privacy and data protection as the topic to write about it, I think a lot of data was there for you guys to write about it actually. So that is something definitely not to be worried about actually. So just try to ensure that you are writing a coherent passage, coherent essay. That's very, very important actually. So from here on, everything will depend as to like how you have done in the VAT section. So that will be evaluated only for those students who have cleared the cutoff of the MCQ section. So remember this, everyone's VAT section is not going to be evaluated. VAT will be evaluated only when you have cleared the cutoff. So my assessment for today, and this is something I would like to state here, this is my assessment for today's examination. I'm not giving you any hint about the cutoffs for tomorrow or day after. That will completely depend on the paper tomorrow and day after. Of course, we'll be coming out with a final and comprehensive analysis day after tomorrow, after the paper gets over. So by same time in evening, we'll come out with a very comprehensive analysis. Well, we'll give you an idea about the possible cutoffs for both the programs, BLLB and BBLLB. But for today, I believe a score of 60 was possible, and that is where, plus minus here and there, that is where the cutoffs might range actually. So that was a brief analysis, short analysis based on students' feedback about today. So I'm sure those who have done, who have given the paper, they are more or less relaxed. The ones who are writing the test paper tomorrow and day after, there's nothing to worry, guys. There's nothing to worry. Paper is on expected lines. Don't expect any deviations from SLAT papers, from SLAT authorities. So what happened today will be similar story tomorrow and day after. The paper is going to be really, really easy. Don't take any sort of pressure actually. So if you have your slot tomorrow, day after, just chill, just be calm. If you want to revisit some concepts, do that. But this is not the time to take any pressure. The paper is going to be really, really easier. Nothing to worry about. So I welcome questions from you guys. If you have, except for the cutoff part and the actual questions, don't definitely ask me. I'm not going to share any actual questions out here. And definitely I gave you a hint about the cutoff, but there is we'll come out with a comprehensive analysis in 2 days time. On 28th evening we'll come out. Watch out for that session. We'll come out with the written as well as video analysis of the paper. All 3 days we'll do a comprehensive analysis. Today's session was to give you an idea as to what you can expect and what has happened today actually. So barring few instances where some students struggle, more or less the exam was conducted smoothly. So get on time tomorrow and day after. If you have your paper, 7:30 your registration starts. By 9 a.m. you would have to complete your registration, and 9:30 the paper will start. So be on time, get ready in the morning, have your breakfast, take your baths, be in a fresh mind and take the examination. Nothing to worry about. Give your best shots. So please, if you have any questions, do throw that. I'll definitely put that in the chat box. So one of the I would say not the questions, I would say one of the uh, chats coming out every time here is, and people are writing everything and everything possible, actually anything and everything possible. One of the things, sir, what about those who cheated? See, you don't need to worry about. I also know that some people were warned during the course of the examination. The camera will be on all throughout. So see, if you believe someone cheated, I don't know. There are people who definitely say that I was able to do something. I don't know how true it is, but if you believe somebody cheated, you also need to understand the paper is time bound. The paper is time bound. It's not like you have to do 10 questions in 75 minutes. You have to do 75 questions in 75 minutes. And with the paper not being difficult, with the paper being easy, the number of attempts will go high, isn't it? Which means you have very limited time frame for each of the question. You can't leave questions out there, which means you have to solve maximum number of questions. So even if you plan to do some unfair things, actually, believe me, you'll only lose out time. So please don't bother about all this. There are people who just for the sake of it even keep on saying that I did so and so, I could copy the questions, I could Google out. Not possible, guys, not possible. Understand, it is very difficult. Those who will indulge into that, really, believe me, they lose a lot of time actually doing that. So probably they'll not be in the right frame even to mark the correct answers out there. And not everything could be found on Google. These people are smart. They have been doing this examination for a long time now. This is a very old college, very old institution. This SLAT examination has been happening for a long time. So you need to understand, these guys are also smart. They have made the questions fresh actually, and every day the questions will change. So even if somebody shares you the some of the question, that's not going to help you tomorrow or day after if you are preparing for the examinations, isn't it? So the best advice I can give you is to go and give your best shot. That's it. Don't worry at all. Don't worry at all. Can I have more questions, please? So at the same time, there are a lot of students who have joined in on the YouTube actually. How to prepare for VAT? Okay, see, I'm sure a lot of CL students are attending the session. We did a session on writing ability test with Gautam Baba sir. Please watch the video. It's already there in your account in the video sections. Please watch that. That's very, very important. Please do watch the session. See, the overall objective of VAT is to what should be your strategy. Remember one point. You have to make a coherent essay. Actually, you have to write a very coherent essay. You have to give your data. You have to share your thoughts. Actually, you can take sides if you want to, if the topic is like that where you are required to write against the argument given or something like that. You can do that. Actually, nothing to worry about. All you are required, the basic understanding of this exercise is basically all you are supposed to do is to write a good essay which should have a good start point, which should have a good body, and which should have a good end point. Actually, for more, I'll recommend you to please watch the session. It's already there in your account section, in your video section of your aspiration account, already been uploaded. If you could not manage to attend it live, please do watch the session. Actually, rough sheets are allowed. You can keep white sheets along with the pen. Rough sheets are allowed. Mobiles are definitely not allowed, and there cannot be any other person in your room. So first, when you start with the test paper, you'll have to show them your room actually, and if they find any suspicious activity happening, they will warn you. After some warning, they can even stop your test. So if you have any plans in your mind, beware. If you have any plans in your mind, a lot of students were given warning today, and I know a couple of students for in different groups, they have been chatting. For them the test was stopped. Please don't do that. Don't do that. They are monitoring your visuals. Actually, the camera would be on all throughout the examination. Please beware. And obviously, as I said, you won't get time to indulge in all unfair means actually. So why waste your time on all the things which are not possible or which should not be doing actually? SLAT does not give any rank actually. Typically, they don't give you any rank. So they give you a cutoff. If you have cleared the cutoff, then you'll be appearing for personal interview. And in the meantime, they will evaluate your VAT score as well. Though they have not come out, none of the law schools have come out very clearly basis the change which you have they introduced in the entrance pattern. They have not come out with any clear indication what would be the weightage for each of that. But if I go by the previous years, the MCQ part carries 50% weightage, 30% goes to personal interview, and 20% weight is carried by WAT's performance actually. So that's how the breakup has been. Some of the SLS definitely give 5% weightage to your past academics, but generally it's an overall performance which is taken into consideration. So from the students who clear the cutoff, a shortlist will be drawn who will appear for the personal interview, and then their VAT will be evaluated and a final merit list will be drawn. So basis the number of seats, the first list students will be allowed to take admissions. If anybody leaves the seat allotted, then that goes to the next waitlisted candidate. So that's how the process works. Generally expect 2 to 3 waiting lists coming up actually for each of the law colleges. So the question here is how much percentage of VAT? VAT generally carries 20% weight in the final selection process, but that would be for those who have been shortlisted from the MCQ part. Okay, so there is a query related to CLAT. CLAT hoga 22nd ko? Definitely hoga. It will happen. Don't worry. They are taking all measures to conduct the exam. No, it is not necessary to study previous year's CLAT for the SLAT paper. I just gave you an idea as far as legal reasoning part is concerned. How simple you can expect the questions out to be. SLAT legal reasoning section has never been lengthy. One line principle, if at all the principle is given out there, one line fact situation. A very simple fact situation would be given. So if you remember the question in CLAT 2019, if you have solved that paper, if you remember, uh, the offer has to be accepted in the same format actually, or in the same sense actually. And there was this question in CLAT which said A wanted to sell his chair to B for 500. B said, I want it for 400. So this we understand is a counter offer question, but this is the kind of simple one line problem given out there along with the solution, the answer choices given. That's how SLAT legal reasoning has always been. So nothing to worry about actually. Yes, there will be a personal interview involved. So personal interview will happen once the cutoffs has been decided and people have been shortlisted basis the cutoff. So the personal interview will happen only for those who will clear the cutoff. As for the final cutoff, what would be the cutoff? We'll give you an idea day after tomorrow when all the 3 slots are completed. So we'll get a better idea as to what you can expect as far as the cutoff is concerned. There are few people who are still worried about cheating actually. Okay, so I think that was the agenda for this session. We wanted to help you understand exactly what has happened today, especially the feedback which we received from the students. So best wishes to all the students who are writing the examination tomorrow and day after. Do watch out our session day after tomorrow evening when the paper gets over. So sometime around evening, we'll be conducting a final comprehensive analysis. So we'll be doing a final comprehensive analysis of the paper, wherein we'll be talking about the cutoffs for the individual colleges, individual symbiosis law schools. That will give you a hint actually what to expect actually. So that's very, very important. Okay. So don't worry. So what should I be doing tonight for GK or all those? Please don't worry about at all. In fact, my advice would be to just chill. Don't worry about it. If you want to cover up something we have already marked for revision, if you want, you please go for that. But please chill यार. अब इतना टेंशन लेने से नहीं होगा. You have given your best shot, isn't it? You have been preparing for long now. You got too many opportunities to prepare for the examination. So this unnecessary pressure will only affect. This unnecessary pressure will only affect. Don't worry at all. Don't worry at all. Please, just go ahead, write your examination. Be calm, be composed, write your examination. That's very, very important. Okay. So current affairs was limited actually. So there is no particular month which you can focus as such actually. So current affairs was very, very limited. Will CLAT take the responsibility if a child is tested positive for the virus? So they are taking all the measures actually. So obviously nobody is going to take the responsibility as such, but the exams has to be conducted. Time is running out actually. And I'm sure they are making a lot of arrangements for that. Somebody who will have any kind of symptoms, for them, they are making separate arrangements to write the examination. No, we'll not have the session tomorrow. We'll have a final session day after tomorrow. On the final day of the examination, we'll have a session in the evening. You get the notification. Okay. See, it depends on interpretation, how somebody wants to interpret actually. So there are a lot of examinations which are happening with all due measures being taken. So CLAT sure is going to take a lot of measures, a lot of precautions. They have already added more than 150 cities in addition to what they had planned. More centers are coming up. So I'm sure they are taking a lot of measures to ensure that there is the paper goes without any issues actually. Generally, you are expected, unless it is given, you are expected, given the time frame for that, you are expected to write the essay in 350 words. Normally, how many qualify for that? Usually the range is depending on the number of seat, 1:6. So expect 1,200 students qualifying for the next section or next stage of the selection process. Okay, guys, I think the questions are getting repeated. PI will be announced once they are through with the examination process, and once they announce the cutoff, then accordingly personal interview will be announced. So if one is shortlisted, one again will be provided slots or the option to book the slots for the personal interview, just like they have been doing it. So expect PI to be happening somewhere around first or second week of August, not before that. So first week, I'm expecting the results to be out. So your PI should be happening somewhere around second week of August. 1,200 out of roughly around 15,000 students who appear for the symbiosis examination, only 1,200 students will be getting a call for the next stage of the selection process. I'm sure those who are writing the exam tomorrow, they have already received the login credentials. If not, please connect to SET authorities immediately. They have already sent an hour ago the mail containing all the credentials and the directions actually. Please check your spam box, spam in your inbox as well. Okay, guys. So that would be all for session today. Do join us day after tomorrow. We'll announce the timing. Do join us for the comprehensive analysis for all 3 days and the possible expected cutoffs. To know about that for each of the symbiosis law schools. So we'll be disclosing it for both the programs, each of the law schools. So do join us on day after tomorrow, 28th of July. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much.